Sasa, Hula, Kita, Kilame, Hirwatawata, Tamarummo, Asicha. Where were you when I'm sick? Where were you when I'm dead? Sofa Skichi, Emoye, Sofa Skichi, Etati, Kichi, Kichima, Simran Koto, Alliance.
Greetings, everyone, and thanks for coming out to this important emergency protest. I'm Erica with the Spartacus League. Many Americans may not know who Julius Malema is or about the economic freedom fighters, the EFF, and ask, well, what does his defense have to do with us here? Malema is the leader of the EFF, a political party in South Africa that stands for giving the land back to Black South Africans, nationalizing the banks and the mines, things that many South Africans justly aspire for. And we think that the Black South African masses should have all of it and more, namely control of society and liberation from the clutches of imperialism. We may differ with the EFF on the strategy to win those aspirations for land and freedom, but we know that anyone who gets up and stands for these things will be right in the crosshairs of U.S. imperialism. That's why we have a principled duty to stand and fight for their defense and to get the working class to understand that the defense of Malema is a defense of themselves too. South Africa is a country rich in natural resources that are monopolized by a tiny few white landlords who answer to the U.S. The South African GNU government coalition has convicted and sentenced Julius Malema on the orders of Donald Trump. Last year, he invited ANC leader Cyril Ramaphosa to the White House, publicly bullied him, and told him to take care of Malema. Like the dutiful lackey he is, he returned to South Africa and did just that. Trump's attacks on Malema and the EFF are not new. It was just 1 year ago, almost to the day, also a rainy day like today, that we stood here in defense of EFF member Kolani Koza, who was gone after by the same GNU government for being a leader of his union during a strike when its actual leadership was betraying it, and for speaking out against the crimes of the GNU. After a year, his case was dismissed, but now, as the GNU attacks Malema and the rest of the EFF, the government is going after him all over again. This is an outrage. Our defense of the EFF is a defense of South Africa against Trump and against U.S. imperialism. Trump's provocations on South Africa are an assault on every worker and leftist here too, especially for black workers in this country. We know that the knife he is sticking in the back of black fighters in South Africa is the same knife he uses to stick in black people here. But also, not only just black people, but also in the backs of brown people and ultimately the entire working class. The tactics he uses abroad, he brings them home. It is the same class enemy robbing you, shredding your rights, screwing your health care. To stop the downward spiral of U.S. imperialism, Trump is trying to strong arm other countries into submission. Some play along, others are a thorn in his side. And if outright bullying tactics don't work, it's outright military force. Iran right now is a huge example of that. And just like we need to defend Malema against imperialism, we need to defend Iran against imperialism too and military assault. We need to understand the game that the class enemy is playing. Many American workers are deceived into believing that the U.S. empires, that Trump's standing on the neck of other nations is going to bring them prosperity and safety. But that's not true. The more Trump is boldened to crush other nations, the more he'll crush you, rob your paychecks, sack your Social Security, and steal your right to protest away. And if you speak up, you face the same fate as Malema or worse. They got Malema on bogus charges of firing a gun in the air during a celebration, which is customary there. Here, they got the Prairie Land activists for a similar thing, for firing a gun in the air in Texas of all places and showing solidarity with the immigrant detainees there. And don't forget Alex Peretti. They killed him on the pretense that he had a concealed weapon. But we know what's really going on. They couldn't get them for the real crimes in the US government's eyes, which is daring to stand up against them and all of their attacks. There really needs to be a united front of leftists and workers defending Malema from here to Johannesburg. And we salute in solidarity our comrades in Spartacus, South Africa, and fighters in the EFF for continuously doing so. But we must make this fight grow, especially in the unions. In the US, what holds these struggles back are the racial and bipartisan divisions in the working class, and a leadership in the union who enforces this and who has done everything it can to be stooges of the ruling class, Democrat and Republican. They sell the lie that workers will get a piece and the profits and the security of their own enemy. But vicious assaults on other nations like South Africa or killing thousands in Iran are just target practice for unions here. The US rulers will bring it down on any union who acts in a non-slave manner and rebels against the enemy. We need to organize the working class and prepare them to defend themselves from further attacks on their rights and the economic misery that's to come. But to get the working class in shape for this, the left really needs to step up, beginning by getting rid of sectarian practices. That means they refuse to join us in defense of Malema because they disagree with us or the EFF for that matter. But especially step itself up by confronting the misleaders of the workers' movement who sell the lie that workers have a friend in the Democratic Party with leaders like Zoran Mamdani, which only undermines working class efforts to fight back and resist U.S. imperialism. We are standing here in the center of New York City, the finance capital of the world. It is run by a so-called socialist mayor who on the one hand kikis with Trump in the White House, steals the homes of working class black and brown people by trying to get rid of Section 9 and privatize the projects, and then the next day he's cozying up to 32 BJ workers who are threatening to strike for their livelihoods, all in order to thwart their strikes. These progressives are no friends of workers either. We really need our own party, a party that will lead the kind of anti-imperialist movement necessary to defend Malema and ourselves from Trump and the rest of the imperialist butchers. Hands up! The EFF defeat U.S. imperialism. Hands up! The EFF defeat U.S. imperialism. Hands up! The EFF defeat U.S. imperialism.